This is Cruise Radio.
I cruise a lot, and I always sail with travel insurance. You should too. Get a free quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Here we go.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Cruise Radio.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Doug Parker. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Cruise Radio. Very happy to have you here, my friend. A review of Norwegian Jade this week, a repositioning cruise. But first, staff writer Richard Sims is here with Cruise News. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Doug.
We start things off on a bit of a somber note as we have an update regarding the young woman who died aboard Carnival Horizon earlier this month.
From the start, we kind of suspected this was a story that was going to take a dark turn, and that's exactly where we are now. According to CNN and other sources, Anna Kepner's death has been ruled a homicide. Technically, it has been determined she died from mechanical asphyxia, which is, according to CNN, when an object or physical force prevents someone from breathing. Those who have been following this story know that the 18-year-old was traveling with her family when she passed away. A housekeeper reportedly discovered her body underneath the bed of a stateroom that the young woman was sharing with two others, including a younger stepbrother. He's 16, and he is now the primary suspect in the investigation. It's just a sad story all the way around. The details are just awful, and this poor family has really had their entire lives turned upside down by this series of events.
Yeah. And police are asking for help in the search of a missing cruise passenger.
As we record this, and it could have changed, since we recorded this, but as we record it, 55-year-old Anna Evans is still considered a missing person. She was sailing on the Holland American Rotterdam. She was on a 21-day trip. The ship stopped in St. Martin, and while there, she took a bus excursion to the city of Margaux. That's the last time she was seen. She did not return to the tour bus, and she did not return to the ship. This was back on November 20th. Now, what a lot of people don't know, or, maybe not even recognize about St. Martin, is that this is literally an island that is sort of divided in half culturally. Half of it is Dutch, half of it is French. Both sides have their own legal systems. The police from both sides of the island are involved in the search, and they've asked for anyone with information regarding her. They're distributing her picture and stuff to contact them. They've also asked that if Miss Evans hears this message, she reaches out to them and lets them know, where she is, that she's okay. It's, at this point, it seems probably like it would be unlikely that she has done this, but it wouldn't be the first time someone walked off a cruise ship and decided to start a new life and just didn't get back on board for whatever reason. So it's unclear, what the circumstances are under which she has vanished. And hopefully in the days and weeks ahead, we'll get news, and hopefully it'll be good news.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple of times over the past year. Remember, a woman signed herself off on Carnival, and then an NCL woman did the same thing earlier this year. So we never know, but we hope for the best there. So next up, we have an attorney who wound up on the wrong side of the law after attacking a fellow cruise passenger.
This week's cruise news is feeling like, I don't know, like we're reading a police blotter or something. But Philip Ortiz of Miami, he's the attorney, has allegedly assaulted another passenger on board Norwegian Encore. Now, there are a few conflicting reports here. Some say it was a passenger. Some say it was that the person he attacked was a crew member. From everything I'm seeing, it sounds more like a passenger. Details are a little unclear, but it sounds as if the whole thing started as a dispute about a hallway down which passengers weren't yet cleared to go. You know how when you board a ship on embarkation day, sometimes like the fire doors or the doors down the hallways to passenger staterooms are closed because the staterooms aren't ready yet. You have to wait for the captain or the cruise director to make an announcement saying, okay, the staterooms are open, you can go to them. It sounds sort of like those doors were closed. Mr. Ortiz was determined to go down them. This other person who was 67 years old kind of said, no, you're not allowed to go there. A scuffle ensued. It got very physical. At one point, Ortiz tripped the other man, who was essentially twice his age. The guy fell down, hit his head, was knocked unconscious. Ortiz, he sounds like a real charmer, left without sticking around to see, if the guy was okay. As security and medical personnel on board helped the victim, who did eventually regain consciousness and was rushed to the hospital. Ortiz was arrested on Saturday and charged with basically assault on a person 65 or older. He has pled not guilty in court, saying that the older man was bigger and stronger and drunk. In a statement to People magazine, his lawyer said, and I'm quoting here, he's talking about the victim, was already drunk prior to the ship departing, and he instigated and initiated the aggression, amongst other things, assaulting my client's wife and preventing access to their children, 6 and 14, by, without authority, closing a door behind them and preventing access. There obviously are going to be more details coming out as this case unfolds, but it's safe enough to say that neither of these people wound up going on the cruise. So I just don't understand how things like this spiral so quickly. It just sounds like someone, said the wrong thing and to someone who had a hair trigger temper, and it very quickly turned very bad.
And on a lighter note, Norwegian Cruise Line has announced some new shows for the upcoming Norwegian Luna, which is actually on sea trials as we speak.
Okay, Doug, we all know that you aren't big on shows, but even you might stick around to watch this one. When Luna rolls out in March of next year, one of the big ticket items in the entertainment division is going to be called Rocket Man, a celebration of Elton John. This won't be a jukebox musical like Jersey Shore's. For people who don't know what a jukebox musical is, it's basically a musical using a collection of music that you are probably familiar with that is strung together by some means. There's like some storyline going on that strings all of them together. A good example is the Donna Summer show they had a while back on Norwegian. In any case, this is going to be more like a concert featuring Elton John's music. It'll be a big production with a capital P, featuring archival footage of his performances, LED visuals, 4 grand pianos, and some interactive elements. So it really sounds like it's going to be kind of a big deal. The other show being highlighted this week is called Hiko, Hiko. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not. Hiko Innovation Meets Wonder. And I don't even understand this, so I'm just going to flat out read the description, which says it is a sci-fi production blending Cirque du Soleil style gymnastics with 3D mapping and mixed reality visuals. 4 gymnasts perform gravity-defying acts. It will also involve an original character named Hiko, who apparently appears around the ship in meet and greet experiences. So, maybe this is an attempt to do sort of like Disney parks do so well, where they not only have this character who wanders around the ship and can meet, but you can like buy stuffed versions of him and things like that in the gift shop. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but it does sound like this is going to be something that they're incorporating all around the ship. And Doug, while we're talking about entertainment, I'd like to get your opinion about something if you have a second.
Go ahead.
Virgin Voyages recently introduced a new show on Scarlet Lady called Booked. And in revealing this, they also announced that they're creating like a land-based division, which is going to do versions of some of these shows that can be put on in theaters or in Virgin hotels around the world. But here's my question. Does that take away from something that's sort of appealing about Virgin ships? Like when I was on Brilliant Lady, I saw the show Up with a Twist. It can only be seen on that ship. Some of the other shows can only be seen on those ships. Does taking those shows and putting them on land take away from the value? Or am I thinking about it too much? Is it basically no different than taking a show like Six the Musical, which was on Broadway, and putting it on a ship?
Well, this is the thing. Normally, shows start on land, West End, Broadway, and then make their way on board the ship because land shows have higher production value than cruise ships typically. So it's probably not something that I would step into. But hey, if it's going to be at a resort and it's cheap tickets, why not?
Yeah, I kind of agree. For for what it's worth. That's our opinion.
And since we're talking about cruise ship entertainment on dry land, let's end with what Princess is doing here to make a splash into 2026.
Okay, well, not really a splash because it's on dry land, but it is cool. If you're like me, your favorite part of every parade growing up was the floats, whether it was at Disney World or watching, the parades on New Year's Day. So the bigger, the fancier, the better. So I was really excited to learn that this year's Rose Bowl parade, which is held on January 1st, is going to include a float from Princess Cruises. It'll be a big 55-foot replica of their new ship, Star Princess. It'll be made out of over 300,000 flowers and seeds and bark and, things, other natural things. And like all of the floats that sort of really capture your imagination, this one won't just roll down the street. It'll have moving elements. There'll be like a whale jumping out of the water and bears eating salmon, that kind of thing. I should probably mention that the float is designed to show the ship going through the inside passage in Alaska. I mean, that kind of helps it make more sense where the bears and the whales are concerned, probably. But yeah, I think this is kind of fun, and this will be something to look forward to when the parade begins on January 1st.
Well, you used to live in Manhattan. Did you ever check out any of the shows, or I guess parades that had the floats in there? Like I know Royal Caribbean had a float. Holland America has one this year. Disney has had one in years past.
I've been on one.
Really?
Years ago when I used to work for a newspaper, a friend invited me to go to the Macy's parade. We were going backstage to where they set up the floats and everything. And what many people don't know is that they do the parade in New York City, they do a test run at 2 a.m. And all the kids are out there playing their music because they have to get the camera angles right and everything. So we went to watch this in the pouring rain, I might add. I felt so bad for those kids. But one of the things we got to do was go to the starting lineup and actually get our picture taken standing on one of the floats. It's very cool. And yeah, it's very exciting.
Something I just thought of that I've never thought of in all my years of watching the parade is traffic logistics must be a nightmare in the city that day.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
Nightmare. Everything is. I used to have an apartment in Midtown Manhattan, and oh my God, we tried so hard not to be there when there was a parade because everything is blocked off. Most apartment buildings will give you a little thing saying that you live on a street, so the police will let you down the street, and the police still won't let you down the street. It's really, really crazy.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap it up here. Staff writer Richard Sims, as always, thanks, my friend.
Thanks to you, Doug.
The world is constantly changing. Your place for news is still the same. Online and on demand at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
Have a tip or a lead on a news story? Let us know. Email tips@cruiseradio.net.
Stephen just returned from a sailing on Norwegian Jade, went out of Vancouver up in British Columbia, and it was a repositioning cruise that eventually ended in San Diego, California. He joins us on the line to talk all about his sailing. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm really well. I'm so excited to be here. I've been listening to your podcast for the last year, I think, very, very consistently.
Yeah, I appreciate that, my friend. I'm excited to hear about Norwegian Jade. We were talking before we started recording, and I haven't been on that ship in probably 15 years or so. So excited to get your take of it. So as we always do, before we get to the ship itself, we'll take a step back. Give me some pre-cruise thoughts. What made you want to sail this repositioning sailing on Norwegian Jade?
I needed a break. I had literally been working 7 straight months, 7 days a week. I have multiple jobs. I'm a substitute teacher, a college professor, a karate teacher. Those are 3 of them. And then I have other interim fill things. So I've been working consistently. And I just got to a point where everything in the world was making me angry. And my wife said, "You need a break." I said, "I need a break." And so I started shopping and I found this. I don't know if I can say the website where I found it.
Sure, why not?
Before I don't.
Go ahead.
On Vacations to Go, which is where I usually do my initial shopping. And I said, 12 days for that price? Honey, I think this is the one. And I booked it purely for rest and disconnect. I just needed a reboot. And it did that for me.
You live in Los Angeles and had to make your way up to Vancouver, British Columbia. So did you do any pre-cruise time up there before sailing?
No, I actually didn't this time. I went on a sailing out of there a few years ago and I did 1 day there. But this time, it's so expensive in Vancouver for like a hotel night. I was like, I'm trying to do this on the cheap. So I flew in the morning of, and I was a little nervous, but I took the first flight of the day, figuring it's a 3-hour flight. There's no connections. Odds are it's not going to get delayed. And I was right. We landed and the city, I love that airport. That's one of my favorite airports I've ever been in. It feels tiny and homey, but the decorations inside is awesome. So it was great, but no time looking around the city except for the NCL tour bus. I heard plenty of interesting stories from the tour bus driver.
Yeah, because the Vancouver airport it's if I remember correctly, it's like a little bit of aviation, a little bit of wildlife in there, and some like an eclectic mix of art.
Yeah, it's a lot of indigenous art, and it's kind of set up to be kind of redwoody, foresty.
Yeah.
In certain areas, there's open water, like inside design streams. It's beautiful.
You were talking about flying in day of, and it reminds me of when I flew up to Vancouver the day before my last Alaska cruise, and I was pricing hotels in the area. In the Pan Pacific Hotel, that one right there at the Canada Place Cruise Terminal, they wanted over $800 a night. And it's funny, I stayed at the Pan Pacific over in Asia for, I think it was like $139, and it was pretty much the same hotel, same branding and everything. So yeah, the hotels in that area during the cruise season, insanely priced at times.
Yeah, I wanted to use what budget I had for the cruise and any little extras on the cruise. And when I looked at the prices, I went, I'm just not doing that. Yeah. So I had insurance for the cruise, for the flight and everything. I said, let's put a little faith in whatever's out there to guide us. And it worked out just great.
There you go. So it's time to board Norwegian Jade. How was the embarkation process there at the Canada Place Cruise Terminal?
It was lovely. Since I did the NCL transfer, they literally picked up my bags at the airport and said, "You'll see these back on board." Wow. I got on the bus, heard all the stories on the busway in. The bus dropped me off right inside, and I didn't realize this when I booked it, but then we had stickers on our shirts, and we were allowed to go to the front of the queue, and we went right to the security line, right through security. They put us in a holding area, and then we were on board. I think from the time the bus got there, it was less than 20 minutes.
Nice. So when you're doing a repositioning cruise, like you're leaving Vancouver, leaving Canada, and your final destination is going to be the U.S., are you still doing like clearing customs before you board the ship as if you were doing a round trip Vancouver cruise?
The most honest answer is I don't remember any customs.
Okay.
I take it back. We did have to do a quick customs check at the airport. But since I was traveling basically through Vancouver, not stopping, that was it. I didn't have customs at any other port and not when I got off the ship in San Diego. So it was just a quick American citizen, I'm passing through and done.
You make your way on board Norwegian Jade. What were your first impressions?
I love ships. So when I'm going on the walkway to get on board, I'm like a kid at Disney. I'm just so excited to be going on board a ship. Now, I never knew this about myself. I did my first cruise in 2022. So it happened then and happened in my next cruise back in 2024. And the same thing. I'm getting on board. I'm loving the ship. The crew is always everywhere. Every cruise I've ever been on, I'm always astonished at how the staff are so friendly and smiling. I'm like, how can they possibly be this smiling with all these people constantly changing? And yet they manage it. And to me, it feels genuine. So I loved it. I looked around. I didn't have to worry about baggage. And I love just walk. I hadn't explored the ship. I tend to do that throughout a cruise. So on the first day, I don't tire myself out. I just kind of go, what do I need to do first? Mm-hmm. And I enjoy what I see as I go do that thing. It was beautifully clean. I thought it was really well appointed. I'd been on Serenade of the Seas in the past, and I had found some rust on the exterior at different places. Nothing bad, but just, of course, it's an older ship. Mm-hmm. And on this, I was like, this is an older ship? It was so amazingly new feeling to me, and not just because it was my first time, right? It just felt well kept.
You make your way to the stateroom. What kind of stateroom did you book for this 12-night cruise, and how did it stack up for you?
I was a little nervous because I'd only been in balconies before, and they were a little pricey. Not terribly pricey, but, like I said earlier, I was budget conscious. So I got an ocean view, and it was a guaranteed ocean view. And I was like, all right, we'll make it an adventure and see what happens. And, I buy it and they send me the number. So I go look it up, and I'm in stateroom 8008. And I'm as far forward as you can be on the 8th deck and still have a window. And I had a nice picture window, and I had them set it up as two twins. So I had more room to move in the room. Mm-hmm. And I went in, and there was so much light coming through the window. I was like, oh, this is going to be fine. And Doug, it was a great little room. They didn't have a seating area like most balconies do, but I had set it up so I could lounge on one bed and put my stuff on the other and just look out the window. And the other thing that I loved about it, there were two other things of note. One, the bathroom setup on this ship is amazing compared to the other ships I've been on, where you have the shower on one side, you've got the sink in the middle, and the commode on the other side. And it just feels more expansive. It doesn't feel cramped. So nice. And then the other thing is that I'd always been higher up. So when you're on the balcony at night, you don't really get a good sky view, right? Because there's so much light pollution from the running lights of the ship. Mm-hmm. Down on deck 8, I didn't have any light pollution, right? I could see the stars every night. And I ended up sleeping with the curtains open every night. It was gorgeous. So I was like, okay, ocean views are a good possibility for the future.
This ship is almost 20 years old because it was launched as Pride of Hawaii, and it spent 2 years as that, and then went to Norwegian Jade in 2008, I believe. So we're talking about a 29-year-old ship. You mentioned you didn't see a lot of rust. How did the staterooms feel, though, with the ship being almost 29 years old?
Yeah, the carpets all seemed, if not new, unworn, right? Mm-hmm. Everything was clean. Everything was nice. The decor inside, I've been on Serenade. It was similar to Serenade in color scheme in some ways, from what I remember. I've been on Meraviglia, and Meraviglia is clearly a newer ship, and that has more of almost a modern corporate hotel feel to me. Maybe a little Vegas-y in some ways. Yeah. This, honest to God, this felt like a ship. I can see why it was in Hawaii. It felt a little bit islandy to me, in terms of color, in terms of decor, in terms of art. So all of it seemed really, really in good shape.
Let's talk about the food on board Norwegian Jade, and we'll go to the buffet area first. What do they call that? The Garden View Cafe on NCL?
Yeah, Garden View or just Garden Cafe. It's one of those two.
Okay, so how was the food in there? And did it ever feel like it was too crowded throughout your sailing?
I did not find it too crowded. Then again, I tend to eat at slightly different times than other people because I'm an intermittent faster most of the time. And so I have windows of the day. But whenever I was up there, even on the days where I could tell it was crowded, it didn't feel congested. It just was like, oh, it's busy. So I found it fine. I have to say, compared to something like Meraviglia or the more openness of like Serenade of the Seas, which tend to take over the back end, it felt small, not crowded, just kind of tiny. It's on one side of the ship, and then you can go out onto the back of the ship, which is where I spent a lot of time. Never felt like I had to wait long to get food. And the food quality, generally speaking, I found across the board, but we'll talk about the buffet, really good, like genuinely tasty. I mean, yes, it's buffet food. I get that, but it didn't feel like convention food. The scale of conventions are the same thing, like a Vegas convention. The food there feels much more convention-y, whereas on the buffet, I thought it was good food overall.
I'm trying to remember, does this ship have, is it called the Great Outdoors, a buffet in the back?
Yeah, just it's like a little tiny buffet, and they serve fresh baked cookies there from 3 to 5. You can always get coffee and tea and a couple of juices there. And then during different parts of the day, when the regular buffet is closed, they have at least some sandwiches, some soups, and some things in that back area.
Okay. Yeah, nice selection there. So let's talk about the main dining room if we can here. And I know that NCL really doesn't do like main dining times, but they do have dining rooms to dine there anytime, freestyle dining, I guess they're calling it.
Yeah.
How was the dining room situation, like as far as the food quality and the service in there?
I did something I'd heard on your podcast, which was don't go to the buffet the first day, go to the main dining room. And I was like, oh, there's an idea. So I tried that and wow, it was a great idea. I sat right away. I had a nice, what I would consider leisurely lunch. And the main dining room across the entire course of my cruise, I ate there a lot and the food was always good. I never had a cold serving of anything. I had a couple of servings where I was like, okay, this is warm. So it took a while to get to me, but the taste was always fine. The service, of course, was great, right? I never had a problem with the service. I had one time where I ordered a glass of wine about midway through and the sommelier came over and he said, listen, I'll give you a glass, but this bottle tonight's on sale for $30. That's going to be 5 glasses over the course of your cruise. And I went, yeah, okay. I'm not a big drinker. So it was $30 for 5 glasses of wine I could spread over. It was great. Everybody was so nice and the food was delicious. I did not have a bad thing the entire cruise.
So with the main dining room then, because it is freestyle dining, do you just roll in there when you want to, or do you have to make like reservations on the app to set up a dining time?
I never made a reservation on the app. As a matter of fact, I hardly did anything on the app on this cruise. I found the app and the internet interface with the app janky.
Yeah.
And I just stopped using it. So no app. I just stopped in when I wanted to. And there were only 2 times where they said, do you mind sharing? And up to that point, for most of my meals, I'd had a 2-top by myself, which was fine because I like to read. And, but the 2 times that I did have seats, with other people, had such a great time with the people I met. Met a couple from England, Emily and Darren. They were a hoot. Had so much fun talking to them. And then, in one of the other restaurants, that's one of the main dining rooms, I met a couple people from Orange County out here, Mike and Melissa. And again, a lot of laughter, a lot of fun. It was great.
How do you deal with dining by yourself? Because like for me, I ask for a corner or a window seat because I feel like if I'm in the middle, it's a spectacle. Everyone's looking. Even though they're probably not. They probably don't even care. But like, what are your thoughts on this?
I will always put in a request for a window seat or near a window.
Yeah.
And I'm fine if I can't have it. They're like, we don't have anything right now. And I said, all right, just put me wherever.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I like to be, right? There's how many, 2,300 people on board? I don't want to be the problem child, right? I don't want to disappear. I'll ask for what I want. If they have it, great. And if I'm put out, we're human. Sometimes I'm put out. I'll just say, all right, I'll come back later or I'll go up to the buffet. But that didn't happen this cruise.
How about specialty restaurants? It sounds like you didn't have the drink package because of the bottle of wine at the in the main dining room. But how about specialty, like any packages?
I did not have the drink package because, as I said, I drink, but even my doctor says, "Oh yeah, you don't drink." When I tell him how often, and so I just buy my drinks as I go. And but as I was booking, they had this deal that $60 for 3 of the specialty meals. And I went, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And so I did 3 of the restaurants. I did Le Bistro, the Teppanyaki, and Cagney's. And each of them was delicious in their own ways. Le Bistro, I'd read was really between the Italian place and the French place, go to the French place. Okay. So I went there. The best mushroom soup I've had in my entire life. Like, I took a spoonful, Doug, and I just kind of went, oh my God. Nice. It was so delicious. And I was allowed 2 appetizers, and I got the first mediocre thing on the cruise, which was I ordered the steak tartare. And I told my waiter, so I'm not dropping a bomb on NCL, but the steak tartare was bland and chewy. And I was like, I thought this was supposed to have some kind of flavor. Not terrible, but definitely something I did not finish. And I did say, please let the chef know either there's something wrong with this or the recipe. I don't know, but it's not working for me. They were perfectly fine. And then I had the coq au vin and the chicken. Oof, delicious. And the dessert, man, they had this little chocolate puffed rice log with chocolate mousse inside. Off the charts. Off the charts delicious. Wow.
What did the menu look like in Le Bistro?
Yeah, they did have steaks. They had lamb. They did have some fish. They had one of the appetizers, escargot, not my thing, but apparently it's all the rage.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. People
around me were eating it and they were having the response to it that I was having with the mushroom. So go get them. But no pasta or nothing that I could see on there. And I knew I was going to go to Cagney's later in the cruise, so I stayed away from the steak and lamb. And I said, well, let's try your chicken. And it was delicious.
And then you did teppanyaki. What did you think of that?
Honestly, it was fine. And by fine, I mean, it was great. I had a great meal. The only reason I put it that way is because I live in LA. So I have teppanyaki places all around me. And we've got a couple out here that are delicious, like just delicious. So the food didn't quite rise up to that level. Conversely, the showmanship on board the Jade was at another level compared to what I've experienced out here in LA. I mean, the guy sang, the guy juggled, the guy was, I think he did a magic trick at one point. He was thoroughly charming. I mean, just wonderful in that regard. Had a ball.
Now, with that, teppanyaki is more of a group setting or a kind of interactive, as you were mentioning with the singing and everything. Was the whole table getting into it? Yeah,
everybody was having a good time. Again, I like to travel solo. My wife doesn't like to cruise. And so when I want to go, she's like, it's all you, baby. So I go do that. And, but I'm very gregarious. If people want to talk, I'll talk. If I don't want to talk, I just kind of make myself internally scarce, even if I'm sitting in the same room. And so we all had a really good time. This cruise was helping me also celebrate my last two, my 60th and my 61st birthdays. I mentioned that. They all sang birthday. Another guy at the table was his birthday. It was just great. A lot of fun.
And then your final specialty restaurant was Cagney's. What did you think?
Oh man, one of the best filet steaks I've had in over 10 years.
Wow.
I mean, it was one of those things where the knife kind of melted through it, and I was like, "This is looking promising." I put it in my mouth, and the darn thing practically melted in my mouth. I hardly had to chew it at all. And when I told my my server Jennifer, I said, "Who cooked this?" And she said, "That guy over there." And did he do it okay? And I went, "Oh my God, Jennifer, it's the best steak I've had in over 10 years. She's like, "He's a trainee. Do you want to tell him?" And so she went over and got the guy's attention, and he looked at me, and I was like waving my hands and giving him double thumbs up and patting my heart. I mean, and it was really fun to see his reaction, that he was so glad that I was glad. It was delicious.
Yeah, because usually when someone wants to speak to a chef, it's typically not to give praise to the food.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a thing that both my wife and I have tried to learn how to do, is to speak up about the good stuff and only ever speak up about negative stuff when it's a genuine problem and not just because we're put out in some way.
Entertainment on this 12-night cruise. What did you think of it?
Like I said earlier, I'm a theater guy. So it's not that I have high standards. I have what I call trained standards. So I went to see The Mentalist. We talked about the Magic Castle before we started. I love close-up magic. I love people who do this kind of thing. And he was great. I don't remember his name, Banachek, maybe? He was fabulous. And I was so tired the first few days of the cruise that I ended up having to leave his show because I was falling asleep through no fault of his. And I was up there going, "Oh, come on. How are you doing that?" It was great. And then they had a stand-up comedian who did two versions of his show. He did a family version and an adult version. And I laughed at both quite heartily. He was very good, unexpected. And his family show was gut-bustingly funny. Like no language or anything. It was like having those restrictions made him focus his work in a certain way. And oh my God, I was practically coughing up my drink. It was really funny. So that entertainment was great. All the musicians around the ship were all fine. I didn't particularly sit and listen to anybody on this particular cruise. Don't know why. It was just not my jam this time. But they were all good. The part that was what I'd call mediocre was the singing and dancing shows. They have those compilation type shows. There was no like Broadway style story involved show. So the singing and dancing were pretty good. Like the talent was capable. It was just the content was very dull to me. And so I ended up leaving after 30, 40 minutes of one show before it ended. And I didn't go back. I was just like, yeah, this is not doing it for me, this particular cruise. So it's so personal, the way we respond to these things. But I was like, you guys are talented, but what you're given to work with is boring to me. I'm going.
Does it seem like all of the cruise line theater shows, aside from like the specialty acts like The Mentalist and such, but like the theater shows, they all run the same circle, right? Song and dance?
It's the same basic thing. It's a Broadway compilation, or it's a 70s compilation, or an 80s compilation. And everybody's capable. I will say on the Jade, the guy singers, at least in the show that I walked out on, they were a little pitchy. The women were fabulous, but the guys were not having a good night in terms of hitting the notes. Maybe they had a cold. I don't know, but they were pitchy. But usually the talent, I'm kind of amazed at the dance talent, the sing. They're all triple threats. And but all the shows on all three of my cruises have been the basic same thing. And I would like to see Back to the Future, or I'd like to see a Broadway show. So I got to look for that.
A lot of these older NCL ships are known for having very smoky casinos. So I have to ask you, what was the casino like as far as the smoke situation in and around it?
Honestly, it was never noticeable. I had to walk through it. Nope, I take that back. I chose to walk through it, I think, 3 times totally on the cruise. It's in a really great place. It's on deck 6. It's forward, but you don't need to walk through it. Which was not the case in the last 2 ships.
Yeah.
And so that was great. I never noticed smoke, but twice. There was a night where I wanted to see a pianist who was doing a Billy Joel set, and he was right down next to the cigar lounge on deck 6, which has an open stairway leading up to deck 7. And as I walked by on deck 7, I'm allergic to tobacco and tobacco products and smoke. So I have a bad reaction in my lungs, and I could sense it before I got there. And when I got there, I was overwhelmed. I said, yeah, there's no way I can do this. That was the only time where it was that bad. I noticed somebody, I could taste in my throat, somebody was smoking in their cabin on my deck as I walked to my room. I didn't know where. And then the rest of the time, it was just the regular outside smoking areas. It was not bad at all, very contained.
I didn't ask you about this as far as dining, but did you stop by that 24-hour O'Sheehan's Bar and Grill?
All the time. That was my baby since I was on deck 8.
Yeah.
And Alan, my guy, I mean, I would go to Alan's section. We spent so much of the cruise together. This guy was great. I'm an illustrator, and so we started talking about anime. So there was one day where I showed up, and I know they don't have room for a lot of stuff, so I made him a little collectible card of one of his mentioned anime characters, and he was like, "Oh my God, thanks." You know, I tipped him too at the end of the cruise. Guy just stopped him in the hallway and gave him some cash. So, yeah, the only quibble I have about the place is that it's a very set menu. All the stuff on it that I had was delicious, but it never changed. So I rotated through that thing very quickly.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what am I going to have? I will say their daily soups. I had their soups there every day, and they were always good. Always. So yeah, great fun.
So on this cruise, you leave Vancouver, you head north, then you kind of head back south again before you end in San Diego. So let's talk about your ports of call here. You leave Vancouver. What was your first port of call? And then give us your highlight, then we can go to the second one.
First place was Ketchikan. I did not have a excursion. I wanted to just kind of walk around and explore. So I stopped at one of the museums. I had a good coffee. The onboard regular coffee was terrible. And then I went to Creek Street and walked around. I'm not a touristy guy, meaning if there had been big crowds of tourists, I probably would have gone back to the ship. But I found the town really quaint, really beautiful. I had a local beer at one of the local breweries and there was nobody else in there. So the server brewer sat down and we had a nice conversation. It was great.
Nice. And so I take it because you were so late in the season when you took this cruise that there wasn't a lot of ships in these Alaska ports?
I think we were the only ship in each of our ports at this point.
Yeah.
We were not the last ship of the season. I think there was one more week. I think the women, my server in Skagway, said that there may be one more ship coming in the following week. Gotcha. But my next port was Juneau.
And what did you do in Juneau?
I did the Golden Tram this time. The first time I was in Juneau, I went to Mendenhall, and I did the tram right from the port area up the mountain. That was gorgeous. Speaking of gorgeous, this late in the season, I was told to dress for rain, and a lot of it. And as a person in LA, we don't get rain, but a couple of weeks a year. And so I was looking forward to getting rained on. Not a single drop the whole trip. It was amazing. The people in all of Alaska were like, we don't know what you brought, but we love it. So beautiful weather in Ketchikan. Juneau, I went up the tram and beautiful weather, met up with another guy because there are bears active in the area. And I said, do you want to walk together and talk so that the bears know to stay away? And he's like, yeah, let's. And we walked high up on the mountain and came back down. Great time. I will say the food at the place at the top of the tram station, the food was terrible. Yeah. It was bad. Beer was good, but the food was not.
Was it overpriced too?
Oh, dear God, yes.
Yeah, I figured so.
I had rubbery, dry, fish and chips, halibut fish and chips, and it was rubbery. It was awful. Not like the last time I'd had Alaskan halibut. So,
how was your day in Skagway?
Beautiful, just gorgeous. It started off real misty, foggy, not raining, but wet. I did the White Pass Railroad, just gorgeous all the way up. It was a great way to spend the day. And then you got up near the top, and Doug, man, it was like the clouds just went, all right, we'll let you look. And it opened. You're just kind of speechless. You're like, okay, I'll take pictures, but it's just not going to do this justice. And then we came down and walked around the town, and that was fun. Had good halibut fish and chips there, really good. Again, had another good, really good, had a flight of good local beers. And then I heard from somebody on the cruise staff that the night we left, they got snowed on. Skagway got snow.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were lucky.
So you did your 3 Alaska ports, then you headed southbound. So what was your next port of call?
Went straight to Seattle was our next port, and it was 2 sea days to get there. And so I think the total number of sea days was 6. So it was 12-nighter, so it was 5 or 6 sea days. We had 6 ports. Maybe it was 5 sea days. Anyways, yeah, it was a haul from Alaska down to Seattle. And the sea days were all very pleasant. We didn't have any real rough weather, just your normal kind of bumpiness when you hit the open ocean. And that was fine. I did a karaoke contest on board. The karaoke is usually late at night on the sea days, and I'm in bed. I can't do karaoke. I want to because I love to sing. And so they had one. They said, come try out for this. And I was like, I'll go sing. So I went and sang. I qualified and ended up competing for, I don't know, the Cruises Karaoke Superstar. But the only reason I bring it up is because it was so much fun as a sea day. And it was kind of a bait and switch because you qualify with real karaoke where the lyrics are there and there's nothing that you have to worry about. But the actual contest was memorized, and you get to choose a song from a list that the band knows, not from someone you like to sing, maybe. So I'm a Neil Diamond, Frank Sinatra guy. They're my range, and I'm real good at them. But I ended up choosing the only Sinatra song was chosen by this other guy. And honestly, Doug, Fernando, he knocked it out of the darn park. That guy had a gorgeous voice. Wow. And he sang Sinatra in Spanish. Nice. Awesome. I ended up choosing Prince's Purple Rain.
There you
go. Had a ball with it. I came in 4th. And the lady who won, she deserved it. So that was the sea days. Seattle. Seattle was beautiful. It was Seattle, no rain. I got off. I went to, I think that's where they have the famous market just off the ship. Did, a couple of loops around that and said, all right. And I went back to the ship, spent a lot of time reading. I read 5 books over the 12 days.
Wow.
I love to read, and I don't get to do a lot of it. Lately, I'm teaching myself to do more. Then after that, the very next day, we were in Astoria, Oregon. that's a quaint, cute little town, friendly people, no excursions. I just walked into town, ate, found a bench near that incredible Astoria Bridge, and read on the bench in the fine weather. It was gorgeous. And then the last one was San Francisco. My nephew, who works at Apple and lives there, he couldn't get off work to meet me. I teach film, and I went, I've never been up to Coit Tower. So I hiked my way up to Coit Tower and paid to go to the top, and kind of as a Dirty Harry pilgrimage. Awesome. And it was so much fun. And I'm so glad you're laughing that you get the reference. There are people who don't get the reference. And I'm like, yeah, so much of my humor goes over my own head. That was a lot of fun. Exhausting. Wow, that city's a lot of work to get around on foot.
Yeah, it is. So you're back on the ship. You have a couple of sea days, day or so, and you make your way to San Diego. How was your debark there?
Bright and easy. I disembarked myself. I took my own luggage because I was taking the train from San Diego, back up to my hometown of Los Angeles. So I had a ticket on the Amtrak. And then we found out midway through the cruise that the No Kings March was happening, and they were shutting down a couple of the trains. So a lot of us had to rebook or rejigger in order to make sure we made our trains. And it's a short walk with your luggage. It takes you about 15 minutes from the boat over to the train station. So I walked myself off, got over there, and it all worked out fine. But it was so quick.
Yeah, I did that once. Is that called the Coast Starlight? What is that train called that goes up the coast there, the Amtrak?
Yeah, I think it is the Starlight. It's the Coastal.
That's it.
The Starlight Coastal, maybe that's the whole name. I just know it as the Amtrak Coastal because I've taken it a lot to go visit friends down in Baja.
When we were in San Diego a couple of years ago, we took the Amtrak up to Oceanside, and I remember going north and thinking, this train is a little too close to these cliffs. It's almost like, over your comfort zone, but it was cool, but spectacular views. My first time ever doing a train in California, and it was definitely a memorable one.
Yeah, you're describing it really well. That's exactly the way it is. There are times you're just like, wow, if the tide comes in. Yeah, so gorgeous. And if you've never done it, if you get a chance to take the train from Seattle to Vancouver, my wife and I did that on our second honeymoon. It was actually our 5th anniversary honeymoon, but we did that. That's another gorgeous coastal, very near the water trip. And it leaves you right near the Vancouver. Nice. So certainly within a taxi ride. Yeah. Anyways.
Well, it sounds like you had a great time on Norwegian Jade. Do you have any tips to offer anyone who might be sailing her?
The main thing I'd say is for a trip of this nature, since it's leaving from this area, especially on the West Coast, if you're traveling from the West Coast, staying a night before, not necessary, in my opinion. Just take the first flight of the day that you're going out. I think that that's a really good option. Even the air, I did my research on that. I talked to the airlines, I talked to the cruise line, and everybody was like, you'll be fine. It's the first flight of the day. So just consider that as an option. An ocean view is a good alternative to a balcony. I was surprised at that because you get plenty of fresh air just leaving your room. And I like to sit and read. I just did it elsewhere. So that'd be the other thing I'd say. And the rooms are really nice on Jade. I was really pleasantly, I wouldn't say super surprised. I was just pleased at how nice they were. And then the other thing is, and this is me personally, if you have any thoughts about your service charges, you can go down to guest services and have them reduced or removed or whatnot. And I have issues with transparency. And so I did reduce some of them. And then I took that same money and I gave it out personally to the people just to make sure people got it, just because of the transparency. I could be wrong. And when I get information that I am, but I know a lot of people, myself included, struggle with doing what they want or doing what they feel is best for them. And the idea of these are added, they just are added. It's like, hold on. You can say something about it. And the staff was perfectly polite about it. There was no guilt or anything. So just as a thought.
Yeah. I know NCL is one of the cruise lines that is upfront in their fine print that say, hey, we're using this money for crew enrichment as well. So they're not just giving it to the crew members. So I guess at least they disclose it, but I think that you're not in the wrong either because you want all the money to go to the crew, right? Not their enrichment.
Yeah, I don't know what enrichment means. And I am very open to as much information as somebody will give me. I'll change my mind. Mm-hmm. I've had to do it. You can't be married without having to learn how to change your mind.
Right.
And, I've been married a long time, so I have that skill set. But yeah, I want the people to get it. And so I went to the people like many people do. I'm not special. A lot of people bring extra cash and give it out. And I love that. And since my mom, you got to tip these people. Somehow you got to tip them. So if it's automatic and that's what works for you, great. I just want people, my whole thing is you have an option. It kind of sounds like you don't, but you do. You just got to stand up for yourself. That's all. And I struggle with that.
Earlier in the interview, you mentioned vacations to go for booking this cruise. So did you feel like the value was there for the price you paid?
Oh my God, Doug. The price on this was 12 days by myself, not $950 a person, $950, period. I said, I can't beat that. That's less than $100 a day for me alone. Mm-hmm. And then my travel agent at Vacations to Go said, this is a great price. I said, I know. She said, no, I don't think you fully understand. Half of this is just your port fees and taxes. And I was like, you're saying my port fees and taxes are $475. You're paying $400 less for your cabin, food, and entertainment. And I went, oh, wow. So yeah, it was a great deal.
Yeah, I've said it for years. Repositioning cruises are some of the best deals out there. Looking back, what was the biggest highlight of this cruise for you?
As a solo traveler who uses these trips for downtime and exploration out and about in these new places, I love these smaller ships. And I have to say that the ship itself and the downtime and the reading were my favorite things. It's beautiful, well cared for, well staffed. And I loved the food. I really did. But the reading, having the downtime to read by myself, and the surprise of getting to sing Prince in front of a crowd of people, that was a real highlight. That was great.
Well, in closing here, your final thoughts of Norwegian Jade.
Beautiful ship, great crew, just a real pleasure, very manageable. Meaning it's not like I'm going to try a mega ship because I have to, but even Meraviglia, which was considerably bigger, there were times I was like, geez, this thing's huge. So great. I loved it.
We've been talking with Stephen about his 12-night sailing from Vancouver to San Diego on Norwegian Jade. Thank you so much for sharing this vacation with us. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Dog. Thank you so much, Doug. This was a real pleasure to do. I appreciate it. And thanks for everything you do all the time. I love the show.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,